race. He has to have a few things go his way, like making De Souza going down early. But number 6 in the world, taking on Hawaiian wildcard Mason Ho. Mason Ho had everybody running to the TVs this morning when he was on Dawn Patrol. Anytime he opens his mouth, you want to listen. He's unpredictable in the water and also just as unpredictable on land.
Yeah, what a character. And as I said before, give that kid a wild card into chopes and watch him do some damage. This was the opening slice from Mason Ho. Pulls into the barrel there. Great backside tube rider. Learned everything he knows from his dad, who won a Pipe Masters. Felipe Toledo opened his account as well. Just a messy little tube there. Nothing too much to talk about. But watch this kid right here. That's what he's got. That's what's dangerous about Felipe Toledo. That pop, that ability to just chuck that board up and out of the water with very little, almost no speed whatsoever.
Such an incredible surfer representing Ubatuba in Sao Paulo. Toledo took over the world at the start of the season, wondering how he can do everything he does in small waves, from full rotations to big explosive carves. Toledo made the move to San Clemente, California. Has a house there with his entire family. As we know, Ricardinho Toledo, his father, used to compete back in Brazil. And we know the street cred from the Ho family. Uncle Derek Ho, the first Hawaiian world champ, won that one in the early 90s. His father, Mike, on hand, dominant in the Triple Crown, crazy at the Pipe Masters. And the list goes on and on. One of my favorite parts about the show, Potts, this morning is whenever Mason said he feels like he's getting off track, he thinks about Coco, thinks about Uncle Michael, his dad, and then also Derek Ho, and he said that puts him right back on track.
No, absolutely right. I mean, he's got that world title blood in him. So, Michael is probably one of the most dominant surfers on the North Shore still to this day. He's still got that invite into the Eddie Cow, still charges 25-foot Waimea Bay. And Coco, who's an amazing surfer in her own right. So it's that raw blood, that raw Hawaiian blood that he's got, and he's got to do it proud.
That's right. Well, Toledo starts with a 7. Mason, couple of 1s as this one just gets underway. Let's hear from Michelle Perez with Chelsea Cannell.
Thanks so much, Joe. I'm here with Michelle. Michelle, that came down to the final minutes. You were able to pull off the win. How satisfying is this victory, knowing that it was neck and neck and it's a very important round 2 situation?
Yeah, it's always hard to surf against a good friend, and especially now because we pretty much tie to requalify, and I really want to requalify again this year. So, whoever make the hit was going to have more points, obviously. So, I think just with that result, I just move a step ahead of him, and hopefully the next round will be even better.
It's been a really interesting year for you with some interesting heat wins. Obviously, we think back to trestles and the interference and things like that have happened. It's been uncharacteristic in some ways. How do you put it all into perspective as you are trying to requalify?
At the end of the day, you just want to have fun, and that's pretty much what I told myself before I went surfing. So I just wanted to have fun and just try some airs, and I just want to get my mojo back. It's pretty hard, but since that interference in trestles, I feel like everything has changed for me, and I didn't make the wrong 4 yet, but hopefully this 7 I will.
What do you think has changed if you had to put your finger on it?
Just my body. After that interference, I told myself like, okay, this is a sign, so let's do something different now, and somebody's looking after me, but it's weird because. The last couple of weeks, I've been like struggling for my neck problem, and now I kind of feel better. And I got the result from an MRI, so I just have a few things going on, but it's still fine, So I just want to make sure like I stay on tour this year, so next year we'll be on.
All right, thanks so much, Michelle. We'll see you in round 3.
Thank you, Chelsea and Michelle Perez. Just trying to find that rhythm back. What a rhythm it was, finishing number 5 in the world last season. And then just dealing with a couple injuries, looking for something to turn around for him as he's off into round 3. During that interview, Felipe Toledo got active, Potts.
Yeah, well, he's produced some surfing that I like seeing from Felipe. Obviously, we love the airs that he's got going, but his rail work is second to none, Joe. I mean, this kid's got getting there to having that really complete game.
And Eric on his backhand, already getting a big snap and going for a crazy backhand reverse. He's down, but now he's getting really fired up. Ricardo loves it. There's that famous whistle. A lot of people can whistle, but not like Ricardo, Potts.
You can hear that thing a long way away, Joe. It's I suppose if you're sitting next to him, it could be a little bit annoying, but Felipe knows that support's there for him. But you know, talk about the rail game that Felipe's got. It's bar none, sort of, to me, in sort of these kind of waves, very hard to beat. You know, obviously you throw his air game in there, then he's you know, getting to a point where in conditions like this he's pretty much unstoppable. If he can sort of fine-tune the big wave skills, you know, places like Cloud Break and Chopu, which I think he'll do. He's still a young kid. He's still working this game out. He's still growing, you know. So when he gets a bit bigger and stronger and starts working that side of things out, watch out. We're talking world titles.
Oh, big time. Right now, Toledo with a solid total already out front over the Hawaiian. Toledo opened with a 7, backed it up with a 6.67. Right now, Mason Ho just with a few ones as he's getting this one underway. So plenty of time to get things started. Coming up next be Durbidge and Andino. Slater takes on Brett Simpson. Nat Young and Sebastian Zietz will be on deck for heat number 4. Huge matchups on paper, and obviously waiting to get into the world title conversation with Gabriel Medina. He'll have Kyle Belli in the last tee of the round if we can get that far today. Wow,
that's going to be a great heat. You know, he just had a shot of Mason right there, looking nice and cool and calm and collected. I mean, it takes a lot to ruffle this kid's feathers. He's just going to play, you know, just play the game, and if the waves come his way, he's going to do it. Looks like a good set approaching for Toledo.
Toledo checking out the right. All setup work. Ton of momentum. Goes for the punt. Misses the grab, and he's down. So incomplete on that one. That was more painful for his father missing that landing than it probably was for Toledo with this kind of lead.
Yeah, pretty animated. You know, with the wind the way it is, though, if you miss that grab, it's going to be, you know, pretty difficult to complete those aerial kind of maneuvers. You've got to almost punt out towards the beach a bit more with the offshore wind blowing. I mean, these guys have got all kinds of airs on lock. We saw Mason do an incredible one yesterday to upset that world title race for Julian Wilson. Let's have a look and see what went wrong here. Toledo, as soon as he steps on that tail, you know what's going to happen. Missed the grab. That was the deal right there. And sometimes that happens, even with the best.
So a little incomplete move there. It sort of seemed like a lot of the venues on tour and where the scoring was going, a lot of the top 34 was just kind of sticking to the open face, big power hooks, and going for overall performance. I was really excited to see how Toledo was taking on Snapper Rocks. Granted, it was pretty small this year. We had to extend the waiting period. Big thanks to the WSL for putting them in the best conditions possible. But it almost seems like he has the intent to ramp up on every wave he stands up on. Not doing the same airs, different airs, variety, and comboing it with that front side hook, which makes him so deadly in small wave conditions. Going back to slabbing conditions at the box, you know he loves those square waves as well, even though he hasn't had big results to kind of match that statement.
You know what? He's got ability, right? And when you've got that kind of natural ability, it's just a matter of time before you work that kind of stuff out. You know, it's he's too good not to be able to. I mean, he rides waves as good as most, and it's just a matter of time to work it out. And you look at all the young guys on tour, it takes them a while to, you know, no matter which country you're from, even Keanu, I mean, even though he's come from Hawaii, it's taken him a while to work out the big gnarly waves. He went down at the box, got some pretty solid wipeouts, but picked himself up, dusted himself off, and I'm sure he'll come back better and stronger next time. So, you know, I don't think it matters where you come from. It's just dealing with those kind of conditions, the consequences of those conditions, and then having to wrap it all up in a heat and make sure you get 2 good ones. It's tough.
Well, speaking of interesting conditions and being solid in all conditions, Mason Ho's video parts have been so fun to watch. I remember a segment he had in Let's Surf Seriously, a movie that Transworld Surf came out with. He paddled out on a single fin. He started doing backside airs on it, chop hops, right in the barrel, into the wind. It seemed like he was doing everything that you wouldn't expect on a wave. He would even throw chop hops. Some old school surfers used to tell kids, you're not allowed to do a chop hop. It's not functional. Mason's kind of allowed to do anything he wants. He's given himself that freedom.
Yeah, well, he draws a different line on the wave, and that's what he sees, you know. Hey, who says you have to do things a certain way? You know, it's there's no rules in our sport that tell you you've got to draw a certain line on the wave and you've got to think a certain way and ride a wave a certain way. You know, Mason's, he walks to the beat of his own drum, and that's what makes him unique.
17:25 on the clock. Toledo with a solid start against Mason Ho, a 7.0 and a 6.67. We know Toledo went down early to Maxime Housseau in France, but he's picking up the pace, and he's just picked up a right-hander. Deep off the bottom, throw tail reverse. He'll pick that one up. Really explosive maneuver. One maneuver section went for broke. Bottom scores a 6-6-7. And Toledo loves to get radical to put pressure on the panel.
I don't know how his boards handle those landings. I mean, they sort of almost lands on the flats, which you can still see that board flexing. I know through some of the slow motion stuff in the Oi Rio Pro, when he landed, you could see the board literally flex almost beyond a point where it was going to snap. So pretty hard to do. And it's tough on the limbs as well, the knees, the ankles. Let's have a look. Felipe races down the line, and he gets that pop, lands fins first and spins around very quickly. That's another part of the kid's aerial game that impresses me, is the ability to watch when he lands. Look how quick the board spins around. Off the bottom, gets that nice pop off the lip right there. Almost the nose lands first, fins grab, and then watch how fast that board spins around. The ability to maintain balance over your surfboard when something like that is happening is pretty amazing.
Well, I love just seeing that nose pick reverse. You can see how, you usually don't want a pearl when you surf, but using that to a weapon. Nose pick reverse, getting that rotation, and just like we expected, Ricardo Toledo loves it. And the judge is still thinking about that major maneuver from Toledo. Excites the crowd, excites all of us down here on the beach, pushing the progression meter in pro surfing. A lot of his airs off the top are almost not comparable to the rest of the guys that even have that same move on tour.
Yeah, he does it a different way, doesn't he? He's got the ability to just, when he's got no speed, that's the thing that impresses me the most about him, is that ability to be able to do a pretty high air with virtually no speed whatsoever.
It's a 7.6 for Felipe Toledo to extend his lead. We'll get a split peak. We'll stick with the Hawaiian as he's up and out. So kicking out quickly. Now Toledo down the line. Hammers it off the lip. Just catching up to the tail end of that wave. Mason comboed as we hit the 15-minute mark. Waiting for the Hawaiian wild card to start opening up. It's all been about Toledo. He's looking very focused. He knows how important this matchup is for his world title campaign, Potts.
Very important, Joe. He's, he needs a good result. He needs something solid going into the back part of the year, and he's got a couple of wins under his belt. Needs to solidify right here. I mean, the conditions the way they are right now, he could go all the way.
Impressive start from Toledo, who introduced his signature movie this season, spinning at the speed of now. First ever signature film was yours, Potts. Strange Desire, still one of my favorites, and believe it or not, guys, he can still dance just like he did in the movie. Let's look at it this way.
Nice little alley-oop there from Toledo, and just gets a little bit of backwash right there, catches that front rail and goes down. So you can see Dad not agreeing, just telling him to relax. There's that whistle. Calma, relax. Take it easy. I get so radical.
So calming down Toledo. We know Ricardo rips and has a big history with competitive surfing, but also Felipe has his older brother here, Mateus, who was out here when the contest went on hold the other day, was doing some huge turns. Definitely could have been a contender. You can see where those brother relationships can really push each other big time. Right now, Toledo, the youngest guy on tour, enjoying the attention from his dad on the beach. Mason has his father, Mike, behind the scenes, and we have Strider checking it all out. How are they looking right now, Strides?
Honestly, it's pretty intense. I have not seen them look at each other once. They've been looking down. There we go. Look over from Ricardo right there at Mike. But it's interesting to watch the dynamic of them and watch their eyes on the water and trying to signal, the boys into the right place. It must be pretty stressful for them. Mike Ho, he's a pipe master. The guy's an amazing surfer. Ricardo is an animal himself in the water. So these guys, what it takes to get it done in the water, and they're up there trying to use what they've gained in knowledge over the years and let their sons, capitalize on that. And right now, Philippe's got the edge on him. With this wind right now, though, it's anybody's game. It's going to be amazing to watch these guys get above the lip on each and every wave, because the wind came up a bit out of the south, so it's a perfect air wind on the rights.
Thank you very much, Strider. Very tense look on both of the dads' faces. Toledo with a huge lead. 12:30 to go. We knew it wasn't the game plan for Mason to not have a wave yet on the board, as Mason's going to have to adapt, change something to come back to try to move into round 4, Potts.
14.61, two-wave total required from Mason Ho, so a couple of sevens. You know, a couple of mid-range 7s and he's back in the game. He knows exactly how to do that. And he'll be keeping notice of that wind as well. Okay, that's a perfect air wind right now. He's no stranger to that. We saw him use it to great success against Julian, so look forward to seeing more of it.
Little left for Toledo, grabbing this wave under priority. Straight up vertical, comes down with that big first turn, snaps it off the lip, running to the inside, hammers it again through the backwash, and one more snap that he goes down on. Looking to improve on a 7.0. Toledo camp absolutely fired up, making their presence known in the water and on land. Mason now looking for something that he's not finding on every attempt so far.
That's that's what can happen, right? It's one of those playing fields that is constantly changing. You know, you've got your lineups. I was talking to Mike a little bit earlier, and we're talking more the right-hander straight out front. It seems like he sat there for a little while. Nothing was happening, so he's moved over to the left and can't quite find it. So sometimes when you're on the hunt for it, you move out of position and all of a sudden the wave pops up where you were. So that can be very frustrating and it can really ruffle your feathers. Just got to try and maintain a level head at the moment. Just still looking for a couple of mid-range 7s. But that last wave right there from Felipe, he's got a better of 7. I think he might do it, Joe, because that was a couple of vicious backside maneuvers.
Well, his boards are looking amazing. We've had Toledo switch to sharp eye surfboards. Let's take another look here.
Well, Mason had priority, so Felipe said, you know what, I'll go this one. Beautiful vertical turn. Another jam right there, throwing a lot of spray. Toledo bangs it up through the lip again. So 3 solid back-to-back maneuvers, doesn't finish off the wave, but a lot of damage done. So looking to improve on a 7. And his dad liked that wave. 10 minutes and 15 on the clock, so plenty of time for Mason to answer back. But it's going to be a big score required.
That's right. Toledo turns in a 7.10. That left does factor in. So Ho's combination, 14.71 at the moment. So the sharp eyes, he has his own Toledo model. And his team manager, Yufu Penrose, from Brazil, but now lives in Southern California. Gets to surf with them all the time. They can make little adjustments. And he's created a solid model that a lot of competitors use now. They've been on such a solid roll this season. When you look at Mason's boards, he's been with Lost Surfboards for a long time. The same boards that his sister Coco used, that Uncle Mike uses. I was wondering if Mike was involved as Dino is with Kolohe's boards. And Biolos was saying, he's not as active as in the shaping room as Dino, but he cares a lot about Coco and his son Mason. If he says he sees a model that looks good, he'll kind of call up Matt and say, hey, why don't you make that for Mason, see what he does on it. So he'll put in his 2 cents. The main thing Matt said is he really just gets excited about his own boards. That's kind of his favorite thing.
Yeah, Mike's in the water as much as anyone, so he's got that wave knowledge. I think that's where his forte is.
Well, looking at 9 minutes on the clock, Toledo dominating the start of round 3, heat number 1. Let's see if Mason Ho can crack this combination right here at the Moche Rip Curl Pro. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Rocky Peninsula of Peniche. We have a few amazing fans on hand to watch the start of round 3, heat number 1. Felipe Toledo putting on an epic show of performance, radical surfing, getting the scores up into the 7 range so far. He's thrown away his first at a 7.0. We're waiting for Rip Curl wild card Mason Ho, the Hawaiian, to really break the combination. He's taken a couple of looks at about 5 waves in this heat, but he hasn't really committed to one yet to really perform. Potts, he's down to 7 minutes. He does have priority. I know Mike would have a lot of things to say to him. What would you say right now?
He's got to ride waves. I mean, he's got that ability to do the airs like Felipe. So he's got to find a little ramp, get one under his belt, get himself back in the heat. He's got that ability to fly high above the lip, just like Toledo, as I said, and he just needs to start now. He's got to commit to a wave, find a little chip shot, and boost the big air. And then all of a sudden he's, back in. He's out of that combo situation, and he's back in the heat.
Now looking at 6:35 remaining here in round 3, heat number 1. Mason coming up for another great wild card opportunity. We saw him back at the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach, where he did that big air to move straight to round 3. Now Toledo up, springing down the line. A ton of momentum, clear for takeoff. Full rotation into the flats. Went beyond full rotation and ends up going down.
Wow.
Sky high. Who projects higher than Felipe Toledo on tour?
Oh, well, there's a couple of guys that can. I think Medina's up there. John's up there, but that was crazy. I always cringe when they land like that too. It's just an awkward way to land. There's so many little bits of the surfboard that can bite you, And let's have a look at this one right here. You can see him racing down the line. This is what Mason's got to do. He's got that ability. Oh my goodness, that was like almost a rotation and a half right there. And you can see the frustration. So Felipe throwing caution to the wind. That was about 5 or 6 foot above the lip.
Mason always animated out in the lineup, trying to stay cool and comfortable. Talking to Toledo real quick. Saw that big punt from behind, and that could have inspired the Hawaiian to try to make a big comeback. Mason doesn't get this opportunity all the time. Sometimes you see pressure on the wild card surfing in front of their major sponsor. Mason never sees the surf under pressure. Does so well in crazy conditions on the North Shore. We love how radical he can get on the open face, but now he's hit the 5-minute warning. Still counting a 1 and a 1.43. We knew this was going to be a huge heat in the world title race, especially since Mason Ho took out Julian Wilson yesterday.
Yeah, could he spoil that again? Well, his back is well and truly against the wall. 4.5 minutes to go. It's still not impossible. It's a kind of wave where 2 quick airs and he's back in the game. A 7.6 and a 7.10 for Felipe Toledo. So 14.712 wave total. So when you look at it that way, it's not a really huge deficit to come back from. But the thing that's really going to hurt Mason is the time. He's running out of it right now.
Down to 4:15. Mason with priority, but has a lot of distance between himself and Toledo. Toledo not too concerned with him at the moment, as he's just focusing on moving on into round 4, which is that non-elimination round. Remember, Julian out, also Owen out, who are ahead of him on the rankings. Medina, with his win in France, moved above Toledo on the Jeep leaderboard. And now Ho finding some space. He's solid in the air. He does indie grabs when he goes backhand. Grabs have been a major theme at this event, and he's got a little opportunity now, starting to bowl up right where he's sitting. Ho's thinking about making a move, checking out the right, and he has to kick straight out.
Wow. And then gets caught by this one. So sometimes Mother Nature can be pretty cruel, Joe. And there's just a little bit of an insight. I mean, these guys are good, right? These guys are good at what they do. They understand the ocean probably better than most, and still find it hard sometimes to get those waves. That's the difference between a free surf and a heat, right? You can got guys that can spend 2 or 3 hours in the water and surf absolutely amazing, but then you've got to try and do that in a time frame. Okay, do what you do in 30 minutes, and then hope the waves come your way. If they don't, there's nothing you can do.
What a crazy roll that you see Toledo's on, a guy that really masters that situation. 30-minute heats, he can turn it on. Sometimes does his best moves with the jersey on. 2:30 remaining. Mason's going to get this wave on the inside here. Starting to drive down the line. The Hawaiian wildcard looking to ramp up. There's that tail high reverse. Lands in the flats and ends up going down. Coming close to getting himself back in this matchup.
Well, that's what he needed to do about 20 minutes ago. You know, it's once you sit and wait too long, that pressure builds, and then you feel like you've got to do more than you have to. You know, Mason can get 7s at the drop of a hat, but against this guy, it's going to be hard.
Checking out the recap, round 3, heat number 1, nose pick, reverse. How you feeling, Toledo? On fire in these conditions here at Super Tubos. Multiple 7s, his highest is 7.6, and he's come close to getting 10s. If he would have landed that beyond full rotation in the flats, it would have been one of the airs of the year. His backhand weapon to turns is looking solid as well.
It's looking dangerous, Joe. I mean, look how lightning fast he is. Yeah, once he gets confidence up, once he makes 1 or 2 big maneuvers, Toledo looks unstoppable in these kind of conditions. So he's got the air game happening. He's got that rail-to-rail surfing on point right now. 7.6 and a 7.10 against Mason Ho. It's been all about Toledo. And Mason Ho is going to run out of time, Joe.
So now looking at a minute 20 with the Hawaiian still comboed at the moment. Still made his presence really felt at this contest when he took out Julian in a very close matchup yesterday in round 2. That's when we saw Kyle take out Owen. There was a crazy buzz in the air when those 2 big giants on tour went down back-to-back, and we kind of were leading up, expecting fireworks in this matchup. We've seen them, but it's been one-sided, with Toledo throwing away big numbers. His start, 7, 6, 6, 7. He's tossing both of those away. He's kind of got that freak factor back that he started off the season with, and he's going to be dangerous as he moves on to round 4.
He's going to be very dangerous if conditions remain like they are, but unfortunately they're not. So he's got to hit the reset button, and he's going to have to produce good surfing in maybe, you know, bigger, chunkier, gnarlier conditions. And I know he can do it. You know, it's just a matter of him wrapping his head around it and, you know, bringing this kind of confidence into those different kinds of conditions.
So true. We talked to Mason this morning. He was talking about conditions, what kind of conditions he wanted against Toledo. It came down to really rippable rights. Toledo going above the lip a few times and ends up taking this one out. Great sportsmanship from both surfers and Toledo. We'll hear the horn sound, signaling him into round 4. And he'll take on the winner of the next 2 heats. Speed Durbidge takes on Kolohe Andino, followed by Kelly Slater and Brett Simpson. And Toledo camp feeling very solid about that all-star performance. That's what you want to see at this level. Guys feeling that confident, putting up big numbers, and really showing us what they've got.
Yeah, exactly. Round 3, you know, it's you've got to let it all hang out, and Toledo did exactly that. Just enough to win the heat.
Coming up next, it's Speed Durbidge taking on Kolohe Andino. We'll bring in Ronnie Blakey and Ross Williams for the call right after this.
Fun conditions on offer as we move into the 3rd round of the Moche Rip Curl Pro Portugal, with Heat 2 hitting the lineup. Speed Durbidge, the Australian who's moving his way up the ratings, is up against Kolohe Andino, who has shored up his position on the CT with a strong campaign on the QS, and now can just go at these heats with nothing to lose. 28.5 minutes remaining in this clash. Ronnie Blakey joined by Ross Williams. And Ross, this should be a good battle, because even though Bede's well ahead of Kolohe on the ratings, Andino's got some firepower and just plenty of confidence coming into this event.
Yeah, and for sure he's inspired from that last performance by Felipe. You know, this is just so conducive for big surfing, big aerials. There is some really great ramps there, but Kolohe taking care of business with those backhand whips, just getting a little hung up on that last move. But Bede's going to throw together a couple of smooth numbers too. He is a very smart competitor, consistent, sticks to his guns with that rail game, Ronnie. So this will be a good heat.
Well, Bede wanted to get out the back and get priority with that first ride. Kolohe was on the inside, and here goes Andino taking to the air. And he's going to ride out of it. So kicking off his round 3 effort, similar to the start he had in the second round, which wasn't too long ago. He threw an air reverse on his very first wave in round 2. Bede just almost lost contact with his equipment on that occasion. He kicks out. But certainly a strong start from Andino, showing a lot of confidence.
So a little slip right there on the wax for Bede, but it's a smart decision for him to decide to kick out, not waste his time milking a 4.5 and regain priority. But with this wind right now, just a little puff out of the south, it's, you know, for lack of a better term, it's air wind, and that's going to keep these guys connected to their board. For Kolohe Andino, he is going to be so inspired.
Well, here we go. A good-sized wave coming Bede Durbidge's way. And it's an easy decision with priority. He swings. He's going to drive off the bottom into the lip. First turn is strong. Caught behind for a moment, but easily finds the open face and throws to himself above the lip, but can't ride out.
So I like that from Bede, trying to mix it up. And, you know, we talk about Bede and we say, wow, this guy, you know, amazing rail surfer, which he is, but he can throw some solid airs of his own. And with the conditions the way they are right now, it's just too tempting not to go to the air. So I like that choice from Bede. Even though he didn't connect, I think that was the right choice. That wave was begging for a nice finishing move right here. Punt just got a little hung up there on that outside rail and went over the handlebars. And Kolohe Andino, watch him rotate that tail block towards the beach into the wind. Boink, right there. I mean, he can do that all day long. Very difficult move, but he makes it look so easy.
Well, just over 25.5 minutes to go. Andino, he had a 3.83 on his first wave. Still waiting on that last score to roll on through. Let's get caught up with Felipe Toledo, who's into the 4th round with a strong performance. He's with Chelsea Kennel.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ronnie. Felipe, we saw you all morning long. You looked very focused, knowing that Mason provided a huge upset yesterday, taking out Julian. How did you prepare for this heat, and how did you get that victory?
I woke up this morning feeling so good, you know, like with, I'm feeling that something good would happen. So I was like super focused as well. I knew Mason would be a really tough guy to beat, because yesterday he, as you said, he did like a big upset, especially for me, Adriano, Mick, and Gabriel. So I was like super confident. My board is working really good. I'm feeling good, you know, so I just put my head on the right place and everything worked really good.
You've had a really great year. You're sitting really pretty. You don't have much to worry about. So where are your goals? What's your headspace as we go into the end of the year?
It's been a really good year for me. I've been having a lot of fun, you know, surfing the best waves, you know, having a really good results. And, you know, I just want to surf, you know, I just want to do my job, you know, just want to have fun. So that's my goal. It's have fun and wait for the best results.
Thanks so much for your time. Almost getting the feeling that he'd rather be back out in the water right now than doing this interview, as he was watching the waves that entire time as you guys were coming down to us.
Thank you, Chelsea. Well, the conditions are dreamy for Felipe at the moment. And even though Mason Ho was a tough draw, the scoreline didn't reflect that. A really strong heat score total for Felipe, 14.7. Mason only managing a 2.76 and was chasing 2 rides going into the final stages of that clash. 23 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in Heat 2 of round 3. And quite a bit of history between these competitors when it comes to head-to-head matchups. 6 previous battles, and it's 3 apiece. The last one came in the 5th round at the last stop in France, where Bede just outmuscled Kolohe a little bit.
Yeah, Bede, Bede, again, he's a smooth calculator. He knows how to, a smooth operator, I should say. He knows how to put together scores and not get too excited. But, then again, he just boosted a little air and came unstuck. So, but I like that choice from Bede still, with the wind the way it is right now. But he's a very tough competitor. So, very polar opposites here. Kolohe, a lot of firepower. He's going to boost and do big airs. Bede loves to do those silky rail turns. So, nice contrast.
Well, Bede Durbidge, he had a solid run of top 10 finishes from 2007 to 2010, even finishing runner-up to the world title in 2008. But since then, since 2011, he hasn't cracked the top 10. He got to 16th last season, but he's in a good position at the moment. In 11th position, he surfed 2 finals this year, no victories. But Andino has the quick lead and is looking to really step on the pedal here. Plenty of speed as he throws everything at the closeout.
So staying aggressive as he should with this win right now for Kolohe Andino. He's got a lot of time left in his heat. He's trying to go for a quick right hook, a nice big blow with an 8.5, something like that. He was on his way with that score right there. I like the aggression, rather than try and chip away at Bede, throw a big knockout punch. So this was his idea right there. Just a tough section, that wave again, even though the tide's getting friendlier in terms of the waves, not as throaty, that connection, that wave right there was really hard to connect.
Well, just over 21.5 minutes remaining. It's Bede. Looks like he's found a decent looking wall here. He's going to use his priority and drive into this first turn. Clean wrap. Just banging this one through to the inside. Needs a big finish and finds it and makes sure he rides out. As Andino finds something to work with too on the inside, and he'll ride out of another clean reverse. 21 minutes remaining. And I like just the different approach from these two surfers. Bede's had heats with Kolohe before where Kolohe's gone to take to the air and kind of found himself struggling to get good numbers. And then switched up his strategy and turned to his rail game and pulled himself out of some big heats against Bede. At the moment, it looks like he is still banking on his aerials to get the job done over Durbidge, but his highest scoring ride so far has come with a couple of solid hits.
And you got to surf what's in front of you, and I think that's something you learn over a period of time on tour, and Kolohe has done that. So you don't force the issue, but the ace up his sleeve is this move right here, where most surfers, especially a lot of the veterans, when it went for just a nice clean hit, Kolohe wafts the fins free, and it gets an exciting move just to get maybe an extra point out of that wave, and more or less a closeout. There's the beautiful clean wrap from Bede. That wave got a little fat, trying to keep his flow up, pumping back and forth, generating speed, and that was worth his time gaining that speed because he had a nice finish. But no real blood has been drawn yet. A lot of these scores to me feel the same, just mid-rangers.
So one of these competitors looking to really raise the bar here. Andino looks sharp, a little sharper than Durbidge has in the opening stages of this heat. Been a couple of little slip-ups from Bede, uncharacteristic wobbles. So we'll see what unfolds. 19.5 minutes to go. And some really big heats coming your way. Kelly Slater up next, surfing against Brett Simpson. Simpo looked sharp in the first round too.
I would say Simpo would be maybe kind of happy with these conditions up against Kelly Slater right now. He could have a slide edge. He's got that beautiful tail whip air on lock as well with this south wind right now. He might have that in his mind right now up against Kelly Slater. That's going to be a fun matchup.
Looks like we're seeing that the barrels kind of slow up a little bit with the tide filling in and also that wind picking up just a little bit, Ross. But nothing to be disappointed about because there's some surfers that love to take to take to the air in some of these upcoming heats.
Well, I mean, you said it right at the top of this heat. The conditions look fun, and they really do. So even though there's less barrels out there, you know, when the waves are head high, barrels can be a little bit sleepy. So I like the fact that the tides come up, and we're just looking at big turns now. With this wind, it's super rippable out there. It's, you know, great for high-performance surfing.
One of the things we've been talking about a lot with the conditions today is that Nazare Canyon out to sea that just feeds the swells in here. We'll get back to that in a moment as B. Durbidge picks off. Ride number 5, looking to get himself a score on the board, a 5.24 to get into the lead. He's not going to do it with that ride, but that Nazare Canyon just directs the swell in here. You get the original swell line, but then the swells that refract in, and that's the reason for those A-frames here at Super Tubes, and it kind of sets up for the ultimate combination in modern surfing, and that is a solid barrel off the top and then a big ramp to play with on the inside.
It's a very unique wave. It really is. You know, it's so punchy. That's the cool thing about it. It really provides a ton of power, almost too much power. So a lot of times you're just dealing with it and trying to, you know, find a way to harness that power in the right way that's not just kind of handling you. You know, this wave is just a huge ramp. So these guys, sometimes you can launch too far out into the flats.
This is definitely one of the best waves along the Portuguese coastline. But there is plenty of surf in the Peniche area, and it's the reason why this is one of the favoured stops for the Championship Tour competitors, because on those lay days you can track down swell at some of the different beaches up north or head south down towards Ericeira. And there is just so much surfable coastline. Some of the busier beaches like Super Tubos, you know, they're tough going on off days with big crowds. But just the other day we drove 30 minutes and surfed by ourselves in pretty fun conditions.
Everyone has that same story too. It's such a fun place to come visit and surf.
As Andino picks off a nice wall. Couple of clean arcs to get started, bringing it through to the inside now. And stepping on the gas as this wave really does reel off on the inside. Just wants to get that finish. Looking to drop a 4.43 to increase his lead over Durbidge at this stage. And you do see competitors, when they get right to the inside, sometimes safety their last turn. There's a lot of feedback from the shoreline in these kind of conditions, and we've seen a lot of people fall off on that critical last turn.
Well, I really enjoyed this wave from Kolohe. This was poised surfing. He didn't really try to jump out into the flats and force one of those air reverses. You can see this wave a little flatter. So again, I like that he surfed what was in front of him. He really kept a nice speed and flow. And that closeout reentry was appropriate. You know, that wasn't a nice ramp to click and air. That was a nice place to just kind of place a solid floating off the lip. And again, he didn't force anything. It looked clean.
Well, 15 and a half minutes remaining in Heat 2 of Round 3. We mentioned before Kelly Slater and Brett Simpson in the next clash. And Strider, no doubt, Brett and Kelly are in the competitors' area getting ready to do battle.
You know, it's interesting. I have not seen Kelly Slater. Nobody has, actually. He might be behind his jersey coming out of the back cave, but, you know, you never know when this guy's going to show up. Mason Ho claiming at 11 minutes he's going to roll in just like he usually does right off the end there. And that was Mason Ho having his go at it. But, yeah, there's no Kelly Slater down here. It's interesting that he's not down here. You know, Brett Simpson's obviously ready to go, but we haven't seen that man himself. So we can't wait to see him, and hopefully he gets here just in time to go out and have some fun with Brett.
He'll be here, surely.
He's got to be here. I threw him a text this morning just to let him know round 3 was on. I'm sure a handful of us did, you know, because he's notorious for showing up late. So I'm sure he's aware. He's probably just rocking up, getting hounded by fans.
Might be trying to fight his way through this crowd, and it's a decent crowd here today. Overcast Sunday, and they've turned out. I think in anticipation of those big heats with some of their local surfers doing battle against the top seeds. Adriano de Souza and Vasco Ribeiro in Heat 7 will fight it out, and Mick Fanning and Frederico Moraes in Heat 6. It's exciting for the Portuguese surfers.
Yeah, they have a lot to cheer for today. Young talent from Portugal, they're going to represent well. And here goes Bede, he found himself a little chip shot.
Just under 14 minutes to go, and Durbidge doesn't need a huge number at this stage to get into the lead. Couple of solid backhand snaps, puts that head down and throws his board vertically, and finishes the ride off with a little backhand jam on the foam.
A flurry of backside snaps there. And he had a lot of flow there. Kind of got stuck on that same move, but nonetheless put together a handful of turns, so he's going to chip away at his best score. Potentially, he's sitting on a couple of 5s.
Well, B has cracked 2 finals this year, one in Brazil and one in France. No victories, but it's got him just outside the top 10. Here's the replay of that last ride.
Speed hack, second speed hack, so he's keeping that line to make sure he gets ahead of it to finish that wave. So not a ton of meat on one of those turns just because the wave was fast, but I love the flow he had on that. And flow and beat Durbidge, that goes hand in hand. This guy is such a smooth cat. And we'll see where the judges go with that. Again, if you don't really put too much oomph in one turn, they'll keep the score modest.
And he was surfing with speed and certainly throwing plenty of water, but there's a level of commitment that the judges like to see to the turns, and they want to see that board rounded out, see that nose pointing back towards the foam, and really that whole ride, Bede was really aiming down the line. The scores just dropped though, Ross.
Yeah, so 5.4. We kind of suspected that, but the wave was quick. If that wave just slowed down a little bit, he would have engaged the rail a bit more, got that classic carve going, and then the score would have jumped, at least a point, maybe even 2.
Well, 12 minutes remaining, and Kolohe Andino is still hanging onto the lead. He's got a couple of healthy scores, a 6.83 and a 5.83. Bede Durbidge chasing a 7.26. We'll be back right after the break. Day 6 of the event window here at the Moche Rip Curl Pro Portugal. Stop 10 on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. And round 3 underway. Kolohe Andino leading Bede Durbidge with a 5.83 and a 6.83. Bede in second spot, chasing a 7.26 at this stage to get himself into the lead.
Tide continuing to fill in throughout the midday afternoon, so we're going to see these waves get a little fluffier. But I like it. You get a variety of maneuvers. They're not trapped in those little tight transitions. You'll see some cutbacks, some carves, and then the occasional ramp.
Well, this has been my favourite day of competition so far. Just a few more corners out there, a bit more opportunity for these surfers to get some open face to work with, but also a couple more ramps and some decent airs being thrown down as well.
Impressive performance from Felipe, wasn't it? I mean, he's one of those athletes where you would say, man, I wish I could feel like Tiger Woods pinching a 3-iron into the wind, or I wish I could be Michael Jordan back in the day getting a slam dunk, or I wish I could be Felipe busting a big air rotation at 3-foot super tubos. It's just, it's amazing what he can do in these waves.
Well, Kolohe Andino's been having a good run throughout Portugal, and he's got an opportunity to win the Portuguese Wave Series as we see some movement in the lineup here. We'll touch on that in a moment, but Bede's just going to have a quick look at this one. Kolohe out the back with priority. He opts to let that wave go. Let's check in with Strider, who's been in Europe for over a month and a half now. Strider, tell us a little bit more about what Kolohe's chasing here in this heat.
Basically, he doesn't just have a heat on his hands. He's trying to make it through. But he's got the Portuguese Wave Series, which is a great event. It encompasses 3 different surfing events here in Europe. In the Azores, and then you're over in Cascais for the Alliance Billabong Pro, and then you're here for this event. So you've got 3 huge events here in Europe, and if you can take it home and bring it down, you can actually come away with $25,000 and the cash trophy. So with that, Adam Melling has won that event. Last year it was Jordy Smith, and this year right now in the lead is Kolohe Andino. He does have a couple of contenders in it with him, though. Caio Abelli, the young man coming on tour next year, and Sebastian Zietz is still in the running. So, it's anybody's game. You got 3 guys still after it. So there's a little added bonus there. $25,000 is nothing to blink at, let me tell you.
Well, thanks for the update. And, Caio and Sebas are going to be hoping that Bede can upset Kolohe in this heat. We'll turn it around, because he's well out in front on the Portuguese Wave Series at this stage of the game. Here we go. This is Durbidge chasing a 7.26 as he races down the line. He's going to go to the air. Big air reverse attempt, but lands on the roof and can't find a way back in front of the wave. He takes the fall.
Again, I think that was the right choice of moves for Bede. I know that's a little bit out of his wheelhouse, but he can get those moves done, just not as consistently as someone like Kolohe Andino. But again, that wave wasn't really conducive for big open face carves, so that was the right choice.
He'll definitely have to ramp up the quality of his air reverse too to match Kolohe. Kolohe has that real projection forward. You basically see the entire bottom of Kolohe's board. B can certainly do the air reverse, but his is, compared to Kolohe's, it's a flatter version, and it definitely has a little less pop and whip. So it just makes it easier for the judges to kind of cruel him when that comparison can be drawn to earlier scores.
I totally agree. But, and to be fair, the same thing could be said if you're at J-Bay and both these guys lay into a really nice man carve. Bede's going to have that advantage. So it's just, that's what's going on right now.
We saw that up in France for sure. Bede laying down one of the biggest carves of the event. I think it was in that heat with Kolohe in the 5th round, and Andino couldn't find the answers on the rail. But right now he's looking sharp. 6.5 minutes to go, and the 21-year-old is out in front. And even though he can surf, knowing that he's shored up his position for 2016 on the CT, it just seems like he's surfing smarter heats in this contest than he has throughout the year.
The psychology of heats really goes a long way, and confidence, it's so big with these athletes. If you start beating yourself up, you get a little pouty, it carries with you in the water, and you start making bad choices. But because Kolohe has been doing well in the QS, he won that big event just about a month ago here in Portugal. I think that's really bled into his confidence and then into great decision-making in heats.
He's also lost the beard. Looking clean cut and ready for business here in Portugal. Just over 5.5 minutes to go. And he's starting to shadow Bede Durbidge around the lineup a little bit. He's got the lead and he's got that priority. What are his goals now in the final 5.5 minutes here, Ross?
Yeah, he really is shadowing him. And that's kind of unique because there is a big chunk of time left of 5 minutes, but I think I like it. Again, this is another solid, nervy decision made by Kolohe where he says, hey, I'm not going to give you breathing room. I'm not going to let you chill in your own zone and just grab an excellent score. You're going to have to earn it with a 2-wave set.
Well, Bede Durbidge is the master of that, typically, applying pressure with priority when he's got a lead. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds. He often is apologising to his rivals for doing that in heats because he's such a good bloke, but he's a beast with the jersey on.
I am so sorry, but I'm going to take the next wave, and you're going to lose.
We'll see what unfolds here. He's not out of it just yet. 7.26, that's attainable. 4.5 minutes to go.
Again, maturity for Kolohe Andino. He's grown up on tour, and these are the decisions that, it comes with practice. And we're going to see how he got there. That is just way too easy. He's done this a million times in San Clemente, raised in these types of beach breaks right here. He's got a 5.83. And then he went and kept the board in the water. Poised surfing from brother. 6.83 for this effort right here. He didn't try to get too fruity on his closeout maneuver, just went for a clean little finish. And, was rewarded with almost a 7-point ride. Now, Bede flowing like the master he is, but really didn't have that nice section where he could lean into a big turn.
Well, here we go. This is Andino. He's looking to drop a 5.83 with this ride. He goes to the inside, flicks his board. into another tidy finish. A reverse on the end section. 3.5 minutes to go. And we'll see if that's enough to extend the lead and push that requirement a little higher for Durbidge.
I think Bede will take that. Just off first glance, I'm not sure Kolohe got rid of that 5.83 with that effort, but you know, he had to go. It looked like a decent wave, so he didn't want to go ahead and just give it to Bede. And let's take another look at it here. Just make sure my assumption's right. Smaller wave, maybe a medium-sized wave at best. A lot of whitewash on the face. That's never a good thing for these guys. They like big, clear, open-face water. So again, I don't think this is going to fit into his top two. So Bede's going to have a crack at it in the last couple minutes.
Well, Strider, it looks like your mate's turned up and he's ready to do battle here.
He's definitely ready to get some battle.
And the crowd, well, they're happy he's on the scene. Kelly Slater still draws the big numbers, doesn't he?
On another little secret weapon there. Experimenting quite a bit with different stringers or lack thereof, different foam, different materials. So I'm not familiar with that board, but he's got obviously a round tail there with 3 fins in it. So nothing too fancy, just looks like a nice little blade.
Well, Kelly's going to have to bring his best because it was an inspired performance from Brett Simpson in the first round to fight his way back into the lead over Joel Parkinson after Joel had put a near perfect score on the board. So Brett's ready for the fight. Just under 2 minutes remaining. And Durbidge is still chasing a 7.26. And Bede moving towards the northern end of the event site here with some set waves approaching. Let's see if he can put himself in the right position and give himself a great shot at a big score in the final stages here. There's something standing up out the back, and Bede spots it. Kolohe might get a look at a corner here too. 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. And Andino swoops on the inside. So he held strong in the same position. Bede started to move around, and Kolohe, he's not going to have a crack at a big air on the inside. Bede's going to have 1 minute to chase down the score. It's going to remain the same, the requirement, a 7.26.
Well, we talked about how this lineup is really shifty. There was a pair of decent waves about 50 yards south of Bede. Just a little bit unlucky that that set didn't go anywhere near him. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. So it looks like Kolohe might hold on to the lead here in the last 40.
Well, Bede's best finish here came in 2009 when it was the search event. He got second to Mick Fanning. He had a semi-final finish in 2011. Kolohe Andino, his best finish at 9th. He's on his way to equaling that result, but he could go a long way. It's already shaping up to be an interesting first heat in the 4th round. With Felipe Toledo waiting to see who is going to progress through this heat, but Andino finds a left on the inside. A couple of nice hits. And this is maybe looking a little bit more like the score that could help him improve his lead.
Nice way to finish the heat there for brother. So he's looking solid into the next round, and who knows what the next round will bring with all these big swell coming. He'll take it, but a pretty tough loss there for Bede.
You could see the frustration there from Durbidge. He had a great opportunity to get himself into the top 10 with a huge finish here, but that's gone. He's going to be chasing a big result over at the Pipe Masters. Andino moving through to round 4. Kelly Slater and Brett Simpson up right after the break.
to me, it's fun being kind of a lower seed. You surf against the best guys, and this event I can be a spoiler, you know, and I kind of relish that. It's pretty cool. I'm kind of irritated with how I've surfed and performed, so I might as well ruin somebody else's day, you know, and it kind of sits down there inside where they're having great years and I want to make them pay.
I am still injured. In fact, sort of struggling right now. I got to go get some work. Kind of a lot of pain after the heat. Just my ribs. I tore all the intercostals and the attachments down here. I just figured if I can walk and the forecast looks good, then I'll come.
Kelly Slater and Brett Simpson about to fight it out in heat 3 of round 3. And Slater carrying some injuries into this one. Brett Simpson not happy with his performances throughout 2015 and frustrated and wanting to put on a great show here in Portugal already. Had a strong heat in the opening round. Kelly also looked dangerous. So this is shaping up to be a good one.
Well, if you remember, Brett Simpson's first performance in this contest was really nice. He said, you know what, I'm just going to be decisive. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm not going to try and surf for a certain number. I'm going to throw everything I got at it in each move, and it showed. It was one of the best heats he's put together this year.
Well, a couple of previous head-to-head matchups for these two. Both of them going Kelly Slater's way. Last time they met was in the semi-finals in France back in 2010. Brett Simpson, 30 years of age, and he's had a tough run as a championship tour surfer. His best finish came in 2011. He got to 19th place, but other than that, has always found himself struggling to requalify at the end of each season.
I like that preheat interview right there from Brett. Classic, really kind of aggressive, state of mind, saying, you know what, I want to rain on everyone else's parade. I'm having a shocker year. I'm irritated at myself, so I might as well add a little bit of sting to someone else's year. So that's kind of a fun way to look at it, as we see a quick start here for Brett, just getting hung up in that backwash. Doesn't like the start, and I don't blame him, so kick on out. Don't waste your time.
Back to live action now, and Simpson on his second ride. Strong first turn, drives off the bottom, finds a nice crumbly lip to play with, and hangs on to a tidy fin waft as he looks for a solid finish on the inside and just kicks his tail one more time, right on the shoreline.
Yeah, that tide is changing the lineup right before our eyes. So, every 10, 15 minutes that goes by, a little more water fills up on a sandbar. You can see it, the waves getting a little more fluffy out there, but a pretty good wave for Brett. I don't think it's going to be a big score, just a couple of decent turns there for him, but it's, he's drawing first blood.
So Kelly out the back with priority. Slater, he's had a victory here in Portugal before, back in 2010. He also finished runner-up to Adriano de Souza in 2012. And aside from those big results, he's had a couple of shockers here too. And that would be in the back of his mind. He wouldn't want an early round loss here. Kelly's sitting in a great position on the rating. Still has a mathematical shot at the world title, but it's a long shot. He needs De Souza, Fanning, Medina, Felipe to trip up, as Julian Wilson and Owen Wright did in the second round. But here goes Kelly on his second effort. Racing down the line, plenty of speed, loading up for a big frontside air reverse, and an awkward landing. His front foot stayed on the board there for a moment, Ross, and that has led to some pretty big injuries in the past.
I always watch the surfer and see how quickly they retain their surfboard and start paddling. It's always a sign of if they gotten injured or not, and he looks fine. That was a really awkward wipeout there. That landing there, his knees kind of split apart as one foot stayed on the deck and the other slipped off. But it looks like he's okay. So, that ramp didn't really cooperate. A lot of crumble on the lip, so he had kind of a sketchy start to that air. Clean pop, though. I love the rotation. But watch as his surfboard lands into the flats. That back foot's going to slip off, if I'm not mistaken, and the front foot stays on. Right there, a lot of compression. There goes the back foot. He did tweak his knee a little bit there, so it's a good thing Kelly's flexible, because right now I don't see any signs of him really wincing or any kind of injury.
He's straight back out there looking for another wave. Just over 24 minutes remaining, and a couple of big names progressing through to the first heat of round 4. Felipe Toledo and Kolohe Andino shaping up to be a great battle. That one, the winner of Heat 3, either Kelly Slater or Brett Simpson will join those two in that first clash. And Kolohe Andino, the current number 1 on the QS, is with Strider Wasilewski.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, you know what? Kolohe having a good heat, a solid heat, but you were saying you had to find the flow out there, and you did.
Yeah, I just didn't really want to. I oversurfed one wave, and I was pretty mad at myself because my solid surfing is good enough to make it through heats. So, yeah, I just tried to kind of hold back a little bit and just finish the wave because that one wave I got was so good. I did 5 turns, and there's, you know, if you do 5 turns out there, it's kind of hard not to get like a decent score. So, yeah, just try not to oversurf it, and it was kind of dying out there the last like 12 minutes or so. It was pretty flat, and luckily Pete didn't really get that good of an opportunity, so I was happy about that.
Yeah, ended his flow. He's been on fire through the last couple of events. In this heat you just had, is the Portuguese Wave Series in your mind? You're up at the top of that right now for $25,000. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not in my mind at all. I just go out there and, you know, try to focus on the things I need to focus on. But, yeah, about Bede's, you know, he's had a great year. And I always think about Bede as one of those guys that's like I always wonder, like, how he loses because he's such a good surfer and surfs so solid in every single condition. And he's such a nice guy. So it's just, you know, it's always those nice guys are always scary to me. You know, I feel like luck's always on their side. So, yeah, I'm super stoked to beat him, and it's been a good event for me. Can you give me one more on your position here? So, you know, obviously you're doing well in the WQS, but you really want to back it up and have more pride and make sure that you do it through the CT?
Yeah, I always seem to do better on the QS for some reason. Maybe it's because, I don't know, you know, more confident. But I just, these last 2 events I've been trying to compete the exact same as I was in the Azores and Cascais. But, yeah, I'm leading the QS right now. And, you know, so that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off me in these last 2 events and going into pipe because I know I'll be on tour next year. But, yeah, as far as me, I definitely want to requalify on the CT just to kind of prove I can, you know, I have pride, and also my seed will be better for next year.
Well, there you go. Congratulations on moving through. Can't wait to see your next round, and great surfing.
Thanks.
Cheers, Strider. Great to hear from Kolohe, a composed performance. As we see Brett Simpson throwing everything at it in his heat against Kelly Slater. He's established a decent lead, a 6.67 early. He's backed it up with a 5.6. That last ride will be a throwaway.
So here's that 5.6 you're talking about. Left-hander for Brett. Nice little snap there. A little more oomph in that second one. Throwing some spray out the back. And this is the beauty of high tide. See how he has more options. That wave faded back for him.
And Kelly Slater now looking for answers. He just basically gives up on that wave because it was shutting down quickly. He needed a bit more room to move. So Kelly, at this stage of the game, chasing a 2-wave total of 12.28. Not a massive combination, Ross, and no need to be alarmed at this stage.
And I would say, well, for Kelly, I don't think he's alarmed, but he does look a little chafed. You know, the conditions aren't ideal. I think he's looking for a big knockout punch, a big air. It doesn't seem like he's too concerned right now about chipping away at 5.5s or something like that. So pretty interesting. You know, Kelly usually likes to get on the board right away and apply pressure, but a little different heat for him right now.
The one thing I noticed with that flyaway air is when Kelly got to his feet and started racing, he looked like one of the fastest surfers that we've seen today. So if he can connect with an open face, this piece of equipment's looking good.
Yeah, he was flying down the line on that. And, you know, he wasn't that far away from landing that air, and that would have, you know, been a big score.
Well, Brett Simpson, he's the benefactor of Kelly's wave choice. Kelly didn't get a score on the board. Brett gets priority. And Kelly now having a look on the inside, but opts not to go that one.
Yeah, well, Brett, he has priority, so you can see he didn't really get sucked into Kelly's paddling around there underneath him. He didn't get sold on those medium-sized waves. Now that he's got the priority and a couple of little scores, he's going to be patient and wait for that special wave.
Well, Pete Mel, with 19 and a half minutes to go, has hit the lineup. He's always out in the lineup for the big heats. Pete, what are you seeing out there?
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm out here in the water, of course, watching one of the big heats here. Behind me, you can see the crowd going nuts. That's what they come down. They come down for the Kelly Slater scenario, and it doesn't matter where they are in the world. people show up to watch these guys surf, even though he's been doing it for a long time. You know, I just wanted to touch a bit on the conditions as well. You know, we had that forecast for that west-southwest to come up, and it has, but it's been pretty nice and mellow. You know, we're really fortunate that we haven't had this direction blow much harder. And I think it's forecast to actually back off as the afternoon happens. So that's good news. The tide's still filling in, though. We have till 1:47 until that tide's fully.
Thank you, Pete. Well, Pete mentioned that Kelly's been doing this for a long time. This is his 22nd year on the championship tour. He's had 54 CT victories, one of them coming here in Portugal. But it's been a while, Ross. And really, that's Kelly's main goal at the moment, is to get himself an event win.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I'm actually, all his fans should be really inspired, because a couple of the interviews that he's had lately, he's even mentioned saying, you know what, I want to get my body back in order so that I can compete next year. So that's always good, you know, because Kelly could, you never know, and he might say, hey, guys, sorry, I think I'm done. I'm out. You know, I'm 43 years old. I've had enough. But I really love to hear him say, I want to get healthy again for next year, because let's face it, you know, he is right there. He's in he's in the top 5 in the world, and he's having kind of a shocker year. So he's still more than relevant, and he's competing for titles.
Well, at the moment, he's just looking for a decent wave, a semi-decent wave will do. He hasn't been able to muster more than a 1.43 in this heat so far. Just over 17 and a half minutes to go. Ross, it looked really fun out there this morning. There was some great little barrels. The potential to lay down some pretty big turns as well. You've surfed around the world. Where does Super Tubos measure up to the best beach breaks that you've taken on?
It's up there. I really like it, and especially on its good day for barrels. It is, you know, uniquely hollow. It really does behave like a punchy beach break that you would see bodyboarders love. And in fact, those are the first guys that kind of found this place. It is really square and hollow. So for tube rides, this place is awesome. In terms of being super rippable, it's a little tricky. You know, there's other beach breaks that you think of maybe in Australia and around the world that are really user-friendly for big performance moves. But this wave, when it's on, it is really throaty. It provides big barrels.
We've heard some comparisons to Porto Escondido, just the barrels that are on offer, the shape of the bay, the fact that further north it can be a lot smaller in the corner, but we haven't seen it just yet in this contest, hoping for some big conditions as we move through the event window. Kelly Slater up and flying down the line once again. He's going to take to the air, goes the air reverse, lands on his feet, but just gets knocked off by the whitewater trying to ride out.
Well, again, this is unlike the normal heat structure that Kelly goes to. Usually he likes to build a couple of scores and apply pressure, but he's going for these knockout punches. And a lot of it has to do with the conditions. You know, it's a little tricky out there. That wave kind of, you know, just was a long, stretched out wall. It really, you know, was begging for one big punt. Just hit that ramp a half a second late and got hung up. So watch his rail as he goes to punt to the air. It's going to catch that lip just a little bit. Right there, you can see. So it wasn't that clean pop that these guys look for, so they can project up and out. Because that lip catches the rail right there, he didn't get that pop he was looking for. And as a result, the rotation wasn't quite there. You can see he's landing within the whitewash.
15 and a half minutes to go, Ross. And
Brett Simpson watching us classic.
Brett watching on. Plenty of people have had that view of Kelly riding out of moves like that. But Brett relieved to see Kelly's board just popping up without him on it. But one of the amazing things about that ride, and I want to try and get you to just give people a little bit of insight, was Kelly's ability to generate speed. It wasn't like a super steep wave. He was just riding really high on it, and he flew across this face.
Well, Kelly is the master of gaining speed, and watch his knees and how he uses the wave. He's going to generate and pump each time, and as he pumps, he really gets that board to kind of slide down the transition of the wave. So it's not unlike skating a bowl. You know, you're really using your knees and the end of the transition to generate speed. So you kind of pump with the transition, and as a result, you can get a ton of drive.
It's cool getting that little instructional. You know, a lot of people, you see surfers struggling to generate speed on smaller days, and quite often they're dropping right to the bottom of the wave. But Kelly, I think Mick Fanning does it too. They ride really high on the wave and really do generate some quick momentum. And here he goes again. So Kelly really looking for a big turn on the inside here. Goes for climb up over the roof of that wave, doesn't ride out. Slater just looking a little desperate out there at the moment.
Yeah, you know, he doesn't have priority, so I think that's part of it. You know, he's looking for those insiders, and those insiders are kind of one-move waves. But I think that's it. That is interesting. The whole science behind getting speed. You see a lot of beginners just kind of waving their arms around, but not using their lower body. Kelly, McFadden, a lot of those guys are just masters at being subtle, using their knees, and really maxing out the transition of the wave.
And that speed just allows these surfers to do bigger turns.
Yes.
When they put their board on rail, they can really unload all that momentum into some big hacks. And if they want to take to the air, as we've seen Kelly do in this heat, he's got that speed just helping him spin those rotations around.
Hey, speed is, you know, that's the gas for any kind of move you want. You know, if you have a ton of speed, you can do a big air, you can do a big carve. If you're kind of slugging around out there, it's really tough to surf good.
Well, 13 minutes to go. And Kelly, he's still in combination. He needs 2 waves, a total of 12.28 to get ahead of Brett Simpson, who has established a pretty solid lead without any really big, mind-blowing turns. He's just been jabbing away. And Kelly often talks about heats like fights. If you get someone coming out and jabbing away and getting points on you, eventually in the heat, you're going to need a knockout punch at some point. And that's what Kelly's been searching for. As we see Simpson up once again, finding a bit of wall to work with one more time. Has the option to lay down a number of manoeuvres and goes to an air reverse to finish, and he rides out. He is focused at the moment on achieving a huge finish here in Portugal. Just over 12 minutes to go. And Kelly now looking to get himself in this heat. Drives off the bottom, gets his board vertical for a moment, drifts that tail, bashes the lip once again, and a clean foam climb. Easily Slater's best ride as he milks this one right to the shore.
Well, there you go. Right when Brett was about to just steal all the thunder in this heat. I love that nice air reverse there from Brett to finish his wave. Kelly found himself, you know, as you mentioned, his best score. Pretty clean left there. 3 pretty solid maneuvers. Not the craziest thing ever. I don't think it's going to be an excellent score, but you know, that's going to bring him back into the heat. You know, it's not really big scores we're looking at here. Just a 6.67 and a 5.6 for Brett. I think he got rid of that 5.6, though.
Well, the big crowd on offer here now to see Kelly Slater, to watch some of the big heats unfolding in round 3. Here's the replay of Simpson's last ride.
Just connecting the dots there. Nice sweeping little hack. But watch how he doesn't dig a rail at all. Nice pop right there. So even though it wasn't a big air, I love that he didn't catch any rails. It was clean as a whistle. Kelly just a little behind on this wave. Nice click to that first turn, but here you can see he's poking the lip behind it. So he didn't get out into that clear water where he's really, you know, could have threw a lot of spray. But nonetheless, three nice maneuvers, and it'll bring him back into the heat.
Had that tidy flow, though, linking one turn into the next. Just over 10.5 minutes to go, waiting on scores to come through. It's been an interesting event for Kelly. I mentioned it earlier, had the victory in 2010, runner-up finish to De Souza, but then has tripped up in this third round a couple of times to low seeds, and surfers who are really motivated in those last couple of events of the year to chase down a huge finish. Usually they're after requalification. Sometimes it's a wild card that's got the better of Kelly.
And it would happen for Kelly, especially in these kind of conditions. You know, sometimes he can suffer from being, you know, just lack of motivation when the waves are not pumping. You know, it's not like he needs to grind out results.
It's pretty crazy with Kelly, though, because even the events that aren't his favourites on the championship tour, he's won. You think France, you know, he's had a number of good results there, but Portugal too, you know, a win here and a runner-up finish, but he still probably wouldn't count this as one of his favourite contests, you know, especially when you consider the Pipe Masters is still to come, where he's collected the majority of his CT victories.
It's really tough to find an event that he hasn't won.
Margaret's is the only one on the schedule.
For CTs. It's baffling to me that he hasn't won an event at Haleiwa or Sunset. Surfs both those waves so well. But yeah, he is so complete as a surfer. It doesn't matter where he's suited up over the years, he can win it.
Well, there's something in that because Sunset, Margaret River, they're compared at times. But who knows, with the box as an option over there at Margaret River these days, Kelly could easily take a victory. Well, there's just over 8.5 minutes to go. Slater getting himself back in this heat with a 5.23. Brett Simpson, though, leads. Let's see if Slater can get himself the lead just after the break. Welcome back. 11-time world champion Kelly Slater is in the lineup, but he's in second place at this stage. Brett Simpson has a lead, a 6.87 and a 6.67 in his scoreline. Slater, he is chasing an 8.31 at this stage to get himself in front. And Brett building some momentum, putting his best score on the board just moments ago with a nice little air reverse finish way on the inside.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a really big heat for Brett Simpson. It's desperate times for him in terms of requalifying for next year. Ronnie. He's sitting all the way down at 87th on the QS, so he has got a ton of work to do. He's going to have to fly over to Brazil for the QS 10,000 in Sao Paulo. If he gets it done on a CT, he's going to, let's face it, he'll have to make a couple of finals.
It'll be a miracle effort if he can do it. He's in 34th spot this year. He hasn't been past the third round of a CT event, so if he can get the jump on Kelly, it'll be his best result this season already. He did miss an event, Fiji. He was injured, but as he said before paddling out into this clash, it's been a shocking year and he's been disappointed with his performances.
And it's always baffling. We talk about guys like Dusty Payne and Brett, kind of in that same conversation where people love to watch him surf because he's one of the best. Great style, big moves. You could think, oh, Brett Simpson could be a top 10 surfer, no problem. And he always falls into that conversation. And it can chafe you, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, you just got to buckle down and find a way to compete better.
This is his 6th year on the championship tour, though. I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. Even the fact that he struggled to requalify a couple of times, it's such a stacked collection of surfers, and it's really hard to maintain your place at the top, right, especially when you look at the talent that's trying to fight their way through that second tier, the qualifying series.
It's a valid point. Making a top 34 on its own is a big deal. It's really tough to get there.
Well, some movement in the lineup here. Brett Simpson has priority. Kelly Slater's trying to shake him. He needs an 8.31 at this stage, Kelly.
There's been a handful of great waves just south of them, maybe 50 yards, even in the last heat. So somehow the surfers are just missing it. They're kind of hanging right in front of us, Ronnie, in front. So both these guys probably, they don't have anyone on the beach waving them over there. It looks like Kelly right now, maybe he smells it. It's kind of drifting that way.
Well, just under 5 minutes to go. The surfers making a move to the southern end of the site here. Looking for some more scoring opportunity. Brett Simpson under pressure, trying to requalify, but desperate just to put a good performance together here in the third round. We caught up with Brett prior to him hitting the lineup. Here's what he had to say about these crucial heats.
I don't mind. The pressure's kind of cool, but sometimes you can obviously feel it when you're surfing, and it kind of takes away from how you perform. So I'm trying to, I know obviously I got to do well to stay on tour, and whether it's win a contest or, whether I have to do it through the QS. right now it's this event, Paniche, Rip Curl Pro, and I feel well, and so hopefully I can keep it going.
4 minutes remaining, and Brett Simpson does have the lead. He's been smart with priority up until this point. Kelly Slater, he's searching for an 8.31.
He's doing really well by hovering around Kelly, not giving him an inch, making sure if that one great wave comes his way, he's going to take it.
Well, this has got to be frustrating for Kelly. He's been excited about what's to come on the forecast. But like every competitor in this draw, we have to get some heats out in the water at some point. We have to ensure that we're not surfing those early round heats in big waves and then trying to finish an event with no swell in the window. So that's why we're underway. And there's plenty of opportunity for these guys to show us what they can do out there at the moment. But Kelly has just had a tough heat rhythm-wise. Hasn't found too many open faces.
Yeah, you're right. He really hasn't had the rhythm. He's been a different kind of heat for Kelly, too. Normally he chips away at the beginning with some mediocre scores to apply pressure, but right from the get-go, he was kind of skimming down the line looking for big airs.
Well, just under 3 minutes to go, and you can see some swell lines making their way in here. Kelly's going to get some opportunities in the final stages of Heat 3, Round 3. But Brett Simpson, he's just about tangled up in Kelly's leg rope at this point in time.
Yeah, he's hovering him as he should. And they're just trying to find the right piece of bank here and make sure they're in position so it doesn't close out. Long wall here.
Slater has a look. Brett Simpson not interested.
There's another beautiful right to the south of them, so somehow they just can't see that bank.
Right on top of each other at this stage of the game. Just over 2 minutes remaining.
Another one, perfect right, just 50 yards south of them, so Kelly will be beating himself up over missing those waves, but here's a little chip shot on the inside.
Well, he has a look, 1 minute and 50 seconds to go. Is it hard to find those corners when you're actually out in the lineup? Are they just easier to see here from the beach, Ross? 100%.
It's very easy to see elevated like this.
Well, Kelly does sneak one under Brett Simpson's priority. Drives off the bottom. First turn is strong. An explosive move to get through to the inside and throws a reverse. The techniques look good, but he doesn't stick the move.
Looked like he was wincing there. So he's been complaining about his ribs that may have tweaked just a little bit. He looks like he's calling it for this heat. Beautiful first turn. For sure, he put a lot of oomph into that first maneuver. I'm not sure if that's what stung in the ribs.
And it's just been the story of Kelly's year. It's not like the guy is surfing bad. He's been putting up some of the strongest heat score totals throughout the earlier rounds, but has fallen victim. Out of rhythm at times. Brett Simpson putting together some of his best heats this season, and he's on his way to his best finish in a CT event for 2015.
Good luck, Kelly. Good luck. Good luck, Kelly.
Well, I would not be surprised if Kelly's going to be taking away another injury from this event. That front side air reverse at the very top of the heat, it looked awkward. Don't know if he just was competing with some of that adrenaline that he said has got him through some of these other heats that he's taken on with niggling injuries, but it looked uncomfortable, and he certainly seemed to be wincing after his last ride.
He was. So it's either his ribs just from applying that pressure and kind of grunting, or maybe it was that awkward slip where he kind of flexed his front knee. We'll find out from Kelly. It's too bad. We'd like to see him healthy again.
The good news for Brett Simpson, though, is he's on his way to his best finish. And a similar story to Brett's year in 2014, collected one of his best results here in Portugal, and he'll now match up with Felipe Toledo and Kolohe Andino in the first heat of round 4. After the break, Nat Young and Sebastian Zietz hit the lineup. Joe Topel and Martin Potter will step in for the call.
Welcome back to Peniche, Portugal. You're watching the Moche Rip Curl Pro as we transition into round 3, heat number 4. Nat Young representing the USA, Sebastian Zietz representing Hawaii, going head-to-head for a spot into round 4. Coming off a crazy matchup with Kelly and Brett Simpson. Slater going down, and Brett Simpson turning his best result of the season. And now moving on with fun-looking conditions out front. Joe Turpel alongside 89 world champ Martin Potter. We've seen a pretty drastic change since we started running first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's a beauty. Well, you can look at it both ways. It's either the beauty of Europe with those big tidal changes, or you can look at it as super tricky to work out. But either way, it is exciting stuff here.
Looks like Nat Young wants to get the first wave. Deep off the bottom, he'll pearl on that first snap. Had a 2.5 quickly before that one. And now Sebastian will look to make an answer back here. A lot of fun topics with these two guys in the lineup as they qualified at the same time. And that kind of rivalry really became true. They joke around, getting little wrestles over there in Fiji, wanted to finish above each other. It was Nat taking that Rookie of the Year honor that season. Sebastian, though, also turned up. He finished 16th in the world, had a few quarterfinal performances. Waves like Pipeline, Fiji, Brazil. Thing was, though, Nat made 2 CT finals in that first year, which gave him that big reward.
Yeah, and that was the difference. Came really close to winning at Bells Beach, being one of the only goofy footers to have done so in a very long time. So, Seabass, what a character he is. Unbelievable talent is Sebastian Zietz. You know, I rate him in big gnarly waves. He's great, tube rider, charges at Chopu and Cloud Break, and just an all-round amazing surfer. He's got the aerial stuff down. He's got good rail work. And I'm sort of surprised he's not a little bit further up the rankings.
That's right, Sebastian Zietz in an interesting position. Thinking of Nat Young, he's been reliable to be at least close to the top 10 every year. Nat right now 10th in the world. Finished his rookie season 8th in the world. Last year just outside, 13th overall out of the top 34. So he's always knocking at the door. Remember, one of his finals that rookie year was right out here in Portugal, finishing runner-up to Kai Otten that season. 3 total CT finals. And right now, trying to find a part of the bank where he can showcase his talent. Where would you be going, Potts? You just got to keep moving out there.
Well, you heard Ross Williams talk a little bit about the couple of right-handers just south. Nat Young, here he goes.
Nat setting up that snap in front of the whitewater. Controls the bottom turn. Nice little backhand tag in the finishing move. So a 2-turn combination. That'll back up to 2.5 as he's just building on his scoreline.
Nat's the kind of guy that will, though. He's got such confidence with his competitive skills that, you guarantee he's going to get his waves. He's going to make you work for your scores. He's not going to hand it over to you. Sebastian's got to keep that in mind. He can't afford to sit too long and let Nat get too far ahead. He's got to get busy. Sebastian likes to catch a lot of waves, and I think that's what he's got to stick to. He's got to just get busy and drive himself into that rhythm.
So far, Nat's out in front. Meanwhile, Sebastian's still searching for a little wave to come through. We'll check this one out. Paddles, and he will commit to this little left-hander here. The Hawaiian, bottom turn, snap off the lip. Little backwash to deal with. He'll float the next section. Ditches the fins on the final effort and throws in a great start to battle with Nat Cy Young. 24-23 on the clock. He likes to throw a little bit of flair and variety down the line, Potts.
That was flair right there. I think that's going to be the best wave of the heat so far. Sebastian's shown 3 different kinds of maneuvers on the backhand. We always talk about how difficult it is to mix up your backside snaps.
Here comes Nat Young now. Already has some speed. Sits on the roof for a backhand float. Jams the fins out for a powerful finishing move. So the 2 guys that came on the tour at the same time still battling in competition. Nat Young has had Seabass's number over the years, but a great start for the Sebastian Zietz. Let's check out Nat's wave, Potts.
Yeah, just flies down the line. Nat's got that ability to get a lot of speed very quickly. And right here just jams that board into that lip. Super powerful, real positive surfing for Nat Young. Puts a lot of pressure on that back foot. Sebastian Zietz, a little bit of flair right there. Now he goes up and over the top, and I love this last turn right here. Just jams that tail out You see those fins sticking out of the back of the wave right there. Just that degree of difficulty that the judges want to see. 3 different kinds of maneuvers, and it's going to be a good score for Seabass to kick things off.
So this heat is building, and there's more waves coming through. Sebastian already out the back, checking out a right-hander. Snaps it hard off the lip. Looking for a big second turn. Throws the fins out, lays back, but can't recover. Sebastian down, but he'll have a big start. We'll catch up with those numbers in a moment, but let's hear from a fired-up Brett Simpson. He's with Strider.
A fired-up Brett Simpson is right. I mean, coming through that one, you said you were going to do everything it took. You were going to kick and scratch. Well, in that one, you were just waxing and rolling.
Yeah, I kind of been watching the conditions, and there's not like any really great waves, but there's some better ones, and I just wanted to try and make sure I got like a pretty decent start and then not really let Kelly like do his thing. I could have obviously let him go down the beach and he would have found some waves. So I was just trying to, like, when I had priority, and at the time it was stoked that I had 2 decent rides, I was able to kind of control the heat. And yeah, I don't do that enough. Like last year, years before, I would have let him get away and he would have found a way to get a couple good ones. So that was, more strategic win. Obviously Kelly's the best ever, and I really enjoy. I know we all do enjoy surfing against him, and at times, like, I feel a little bit old on this tour, and then he's like 43, so he's an amazing specimen.
A specimen he is. But you really did have a light foot out there. Your surfing is really fast, and your boards and your equipment look really nice from Stampy.
Yeah, no, Stamps we've dialed in some boards, and it's awesome that we live so close. I love how Stamps surfs too, so we're able to like find, especially for waves like this, this kind of somewhat similar to home, so I felt real comfortable, and just thanks to Stamps, who's ever watching, my family. Yeah, it's a big heat, beating Slater, going into round 4. I haven't been there this year. It's been a struggle, but yeah, we just keep surfing, having fun. I got really fun waves the other day on the other side, so the surf stoke's there.
There you have it, Surf Stoke playing through. Brett Simpson on to round 4, looking to make it through, buddy.
There we go. Thanks a lot, Strider Wazalewski. Brett Simpson finding the mojo to take out the best of all time. And Pagelin already downstairs, ready to congrats her father. She is an amazing dancer. Brett listens to a lot of hip-hop music. You can tell it's coming across in his daughter's dance routine. It is absolutely hilarious. She's entertaining the entire competitors area.
Yeah, there's a lot of families here in Europe. It's a long part of the tour, so it's good that they bring their wives and kids and significant others. Here we go, Seabass up and riding.
Sebastian Zietz, big bottom turn, a power carve off the top, quick snap out front, and a little foam climb to finish. A lot of big numbers to catch up on here, Potts, with Nat Young dropping back-to-back 5 Rangers, 5.17 to 5.4. Seabass, you like the flare that he threw down on his opener, a 7.0. Now trying to better a 3.10. Let's take another look.
I love it when Seabass sticks to the rail game. He's got such a good turn. Watch right there. He's got that ability to hold the rail, get speed from it. A couple of quick turns afterwards, but Seabass, that one big opening maneuver is, I think, his weapon. He doesn't use it enough, Joe. He tends to want to go to the air a lot. I mean, he's good in the air, but that front side gouging maneuver, I think he's probably some of the best on tour. And I think if he uses it a bit more, I think we'll see more results come his way.
Well, he has that real raw power and energy and ability to freestyle in the water and on land. He is so exciting to watch because he does have that unpredictable factor when he's landing his big moves. They turn into big scores. He goes for broke on just about every section, starting with the 7. We'll see what that last wave comes in at, but he's already on a roll, finding a little gem of a right. He's got a lot of speed. The Hawaiian looking for the ramp now. He'll just end up chasing something that never came true. He's out, but that last score is now about to lock in. Catching 5 waves so far. Have the 7 as the high, now a 6.17 to back it up.
That's what he's got to do. He surfs better when he's catching a lot of waves. Dropping scores, building his momentum, got himself in the lead. 6.17 for that big, beautiful slicing turn. The judges like that stuff. You got to figure out what they are looking for. And with that tide filling in, they want to see these guys just nice, clean, progressive surfing is going to win. And Seabass is showing that right now.
So a great matchup. A lot of these surfers have a lot in common. These two both ride for Channel Island surfboards. We got Nat on a 5'11 Rook 15, where Seabass is on a 6'0 DFR model. Both been riding for CI for a couple of years now. Nat made that connection with Channel Islands right when he really graduated to officially being a professional surfer. It's kind of interesting, though, because that whole story changed a lot over the years. He used to kind of turn 18 and then officially become pro. Maybe that was never the message because you were on the road at 15 pots. But I remember, you know, guys like Nat, Generation, also Kolohe, they were kind of living a life of a pro surfer when they're about 11 or 12.
Exactly right. I think 18 is a good age. You know, it's you kind of work things out. You're at that maturity where, you know, you're sort of coming into the prime of your life. You're not scared. You're not scared to try stuff. Your body's still, you've still got that youthful sort of fitness. You know, you don't have to work really hard at that physical conditioning, so to speak. And you're like a sponge, you know, you're just soaking everything in. So I reckon 18, 19 is a pretty good age to get on tour.
Looking at 17 minutes on the clock here in round 3, heat number 4. Waves are looking very rippable for these two surfers that have been on tour for a couple of seasons now. Seabass is trying to break out of this round 3, which he's never done before in Portugal. Here comes Nat, former runner-up at this event, looking for some speed. This wave is going to keep him behind.
Yeah, that's one ran away from him just that little bit. Nat Young looking for a 7.77, so a solid score required by Nat.
Now a great opportunity to get caught up on the first 3 heats of round 3 action, as we'll hear from Chelsea Cannell and Ross Williams.
Yeah, thanks so much, Joe. I am here with Ross. And Ross, we had round 2 wrapped up this morning, and as conditions started to improve, we decided to move into round 3, and we were treated right off the bat to a matchup we were all looking forward to, Felipe Toledo and Mason Ho. But this one was very different. You saw Felipe kind of getting some big scores and Mason not so much. What do you think happened there?
Yeah, this was a really exciting matchup. Everyone was so keen to see these two Groms go mental. You know, and Mason, he can go big in the air, but Felipe just found all the right waves. Mason, you know, he was kind of hanging a little further to the north. It just didn't pay off for him. But, you know, one thing that really was alarming to me is we all talk about Felipe and how big he goes in the air. He gets so much pop and spring, but that left-hander right there, he is almost underrated with how much torque he can get. He gets a ton of rail in the water. You saw how much pop he had on that left, threw a ton of spray. So really impressive, smart heat from Philly.
And he was able to get the win there. We move on into heat 2, where we had Durbidge and Kolohe Andino. This is one where Kolohe was really excited to win because he said he feels better, like he surfs better on the QS and really wants to be able to show that off on the CT, and I think he did.
100%. And you know, confidence is so contagious. You know, for him to get those wins on the QS and go, you know what? I'm over this. I'm not going to lose anymore. I'm going to go ahead and surf smart heats. And he mentioned that in that after heat interview. He said, you know what? I know I can beat these guys by surfing 75%. And I thought that was really, you know, alarming for him and kind of a breakthrough performance to him because he had a good mix of flair and smart surfing.
And a bummer for Bede because he's been on a tear and you know he just would want to do more. And then we move on into heat 3. We had Kelly Slater and Brett Simpson. This one, you know, we saw Kelly maybe battling through those injuries he was talking about.
Yeah, Kelly, you can tell. He even, I think we saw him wince on his last wave, so I'm not sure if it was his ribs or, you know, we saw him have that one terrible wipeout where his knees kind of looked funny as he fell off his surfboard. But again, a beautiful heat by Brett Simpson. Just like Kolohe Andino, Chelsea, he had a really good mix of smart surfing, not trying to outdo it with, you know, being too fancy with airs, and then just beautiful rail surfing. So I love the mix, pop in the air when a section arrived, but then keeping that rail in the water when it wasn't there. So, you know, I think I like that maturity that he's finding. I know it's a little late in the game, but you never know. He's still got time. There's a couple events left.
Sure, spicy. We heard him talk about how he kind of wants to shake things up, how he's had a bit of a shocker of a year, and he's ready to kind of throw some other people down under the table. So he's going to be one to watch out for.
Well, we heard him even say, you know, he's a little bit irritated. Like, you know what? I want to make people feel the same pain I've been feeling all year long. So I think that's cool. He's spiced up.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch him as we move into round 4. We'll send it back to you, Joe and Potts, so you can get us caught up on this particular heat.
Thank you, Chelsea and Ross, for the update on the first 3 heats of round 3 as we have round 4, heat number 1, matched up. Felipe Toledo takes on Kolohe Andino and Brett Simpson. It's sort of easy to follow the draw now, with round 3 being the last that we do the reseeding. Big news there, seeing the upsets go down from top-seeded surfers like Durbidge, and the biggest one, Kelly Slater, knocked out again before the quarterfinals. That's been a common theme in Portugal in the last few seasons.
Yeah, you know, he's had good results here in the past, but just over the last few years, it's been a tricky event for him. While we're at that update, Nat Young went to town on this, needing a 7.77. Came in just short, Joe, 7.60. Two judges gave him the nod on that, an 8 and a 7.8, and 3 threw a 7.5 at it. So you drop the high and the low, you average out the middle 3, 7.6. So now Nat Young finds himself in a better situation.
A big answer back for the kid from Santa Cruz, California, traveling out here to Portugal with his mom, Rosie, and also his girlfriend on hand. He's found a nice recipe to prepare himself. Hasn't been one to really deal with a coach. Kind of likes doing it on his own. Seabass doesn't really have a coach that's on him all the time, but he's had a lot of great information passed to him from Tommy Whitaker, who's such a consistent competitor on the championship tour.
You know, what a legend Nat's mum is. You know, you always hear him talk about all the sacrifices she made to drive him up and down the coast to make sure he got to all the little events that he was, you know, going to surf in.
That's right. Nat snaps it off the lip on his backhand. A quick one in transition, already into a backhand float on the finish. 2 backhand jams, backhand float. Here comes the Hawaiian, Sebastian Zietz. Projection snap down the line and misstep on the float as he goes down.
Yeah, that was a Superman floater. Sometimes things go right, sometimes they don't, you know, and it's when you're surfing on the edge like these guys do constantly, mistakes will come, and you know this has kind of been a hit of 2 sort of parts really, where Sebastian Zietz kind of got off to a quick start and kind of owned the first part of the heat. Nat Young's got himself right back in the mix, only needing a 5.57 on that last exchange. It's going to be close.
Very close. We'll give you that update in a moment, but now let's take a chance to hear from Kelly Slater, who's with Strider.
Down here with Kelly Slater. You know, Kelly, that heat out there, everybody was ready for some action. We got it. Unfortunately, you came unstuck a few times on the end of the waves.
Yeah, it was really just the one opportunity I had kind of with that air in the beginning, but it was a single maneuver wave. I don't know. It probably would have had me in the heat, you know. Maybe I would have got a 6 or 7 if I landed that. But, you know, I just didn't get much opportunity after that. Brett literally started sitting on me with 21 or 22 minutes left in the heat. I mean, I didn't know that that was going to happen. But even so, not many waves, not many opportunities came. And I kind of blew it in the beginning because, there's been good waves in this heat. I kind of blew it in my heat because Brett got a first one. He didn't get much of a score on. And then I saw a set coming and I thought, oh, it might be swinging towards him. I should go just cover it in case it does. And I didn't go, and by the time I started paddling, I was too deep, and he got his first one off it. So that very well could have been my wave if I sort of trusted my gut. But, you know, if I trusted my gut, I probably wouldn't have come here.
You know, coming down to the wire every time you come to the beach, you seem to get here with about 11 minutes left in the heat and just show up. Is that a game plan for you, pretty much?
It's not a good one. I just was at home watching. I actually thought they might call it off, and then they called it on. I was only the 3rd heat. So I pretty much watched every wave that happened this morning, but that's different than being down here and watching the lineup, you know. I didn't know exactly where they were sitting, and you know, if I had, I might have known. I probably would have known the lineup a little better and realized that, you know, I came in and Belly said, oh, there was quite a few rights down to the south end. Neither of us went there. I think Brett, because he got the lead and sat on me. I think me, because I just couldn't quite see it and I didn't look at the lineup beforehand. So it was just, you know, it was just one of those heats where I just couldn't find sync, and it just never felt like I was getting in the rhythm with it, because like the time felt like it was going quicker than it really was. Like I was like, God, there's already 9 minutes gone. You know, it's just that kind of thing. So you know, it's just one of those heats. Every time I paddle for a wave, I'd see it flatten out and wouldn't have much wall, and I'd be like, should I take it and kind of just try to get speed and do one maneuver? But you know, that's not going to do much for you out there. So never found it.
Yeah. In that heat, at the end of that heat, your last wave, you came unstuck, you came up, it looked like you winced. Was that from having a bad heat, or are your injuries nagging you?
No, it's nagging me. Actually, Pete Mill came up to me after the heat, and he's like, hey, what's up, buddy? Right in my ribs. Are you kidding me? But no, I can surf. Like when I when I just get some adrenaline, I don't think about it, and then I pay for it in the evening. I just need to rest for about a month probably.
Well, that's what you got before Pipe, so good luck there, and can't wait to see you there.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Strider and Kelly Slater, for the time after a tough loss there, as he is always really solid at being analytical, thinking each step through in a matchup. The unfortunate part, he's been doing that quite often this season. He's shown signs of brilliance at select events, but once again going down. Meanwhile, Potts, Nat Young is going crazy on his backhand out here.
Yeah, just winding up 3 massive turns. And, well, he didn't need much. He already had the lead with a 6.43. He's looking for a 5.57. Dropped that 6.43, got the lead, and then found another gem, a 9.07. Look at that. All the way up to 9.5 from the judges. 2 9s, a 9.2, and 8.8. It's great surfing from Nat Young. He's just finding his rhythm. You can see Nat takes his time with his turns, and I think that's what makes him look so solid and so confident, is that he just waits for it to happen. He doesn't try and force anything. Just blows the lip of, off the wave and throws a lot of spray through the air, and the judges lapped it up.
They make it look so powerful. That nice long right just sets up that backhand for Nat Young so well. We mentioned before that Nat's gotten Seabass out here before, and looks like he's getting close to doing it again. What was your favorite part about this wave?
Just the synergy between the maneuvers. I mean, off the bottom, off the top, combination of major maneuvers, solid on his feet right there, all the way through to the inside. And the thing I like about it, no claim. I think that's kind of refreshing right
days,
there. It's we're going to try and get a claim jar happening. Anything under an 8, you're going to have to pay $100.
As we watch this wave here, setting up for Sebastian Zietz, throw, tail, reverse. He ends up out the back. So he'll still be chasing, now without priority, looking for a 9.67 to make a comeback. The claim's been a really funny story in pro surfing over the years. Claims have probably been around ever since the first competition. You're seeing how a surfer feels after a wave, and some people do it in unique fashion. There's some surfers that are known to never claim. Who comes to mind there?
Joe Turpel.
Never have anything worthy of claiming.
It's pretty hard. I mean, you look at certain guys, and Curran was one of those guys that we thought never claimed, but then the more you watch him, he had this little where he wiped the water off his nose, or his body language was like this, subtle claim.
Watching Seabass now, under the lip snap, throws it under the lip again in the closeout, nice and vertical. We'll see if the judges give him credit for riding out right on the beach. He started off well, 7.617, needed a 9.67 there. Are you giving that final turn a completion, Potts?
Pretty close, but maybe not. The judges have been really critical on that, Joe, and I think the surfers know that as well. They've got to ride out. It's got to be with confidence, with conviction. Let's have a look at this wave right now. Snaps off. I love that snap from Seabass, and then nice and vertical. Does he ride out of it? Not really. So you've got to come out in front of the whitewater, show the judges complete control. That's going to be a 1-maneuver wave and a pretty good opening turn. So had he stuck that, he was looking for a 9.67, so it wasn't going to be the score anyway. He was going to have to go back to the drawing board, but with 4 minutes and 50 seconds to go, it is a crazy heat of 2 halves. Seabass got out the blocks firing. Nat Young just answered back.
Just passing 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Joe Parkinson, former world champ, taking on Matty Wilkinson in this next battle in round 3, heat number 5. Wilco went out early in the morning for a free surf when it was really shallow and nice and hollow. He looked at his boards and decided to take out his magic board. Adriano called him into a wave and he snapped it in a closeout. And he said he was kicking himself because he was debating on keeping it on ice. He's got a healthy quiver, but sometimes that magic weapon is the one that you want to be on every chance you get. So he'll battle back with a backup board coming up next.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he will. As you said, these guys have got tons of boards and tons of choice.
This is Nat Young, already with the lead. Coming hard off the bottom, blow tail, ends up down. He had a pretty solid combination in first. You could tell he was going for something really big as he's down to 3:40 remaining. The rivalry continues with these two. So far, it looks like Nat will remain undefeated over Sebastian Zietz. Zietz still needs a 9.67. As we see, Wilco coming up next, getting nice and loose. How have you liked his form this season?
I've loved it. I mean, he's been surfing incredibly well. Obviously, a standout result semi-finals in Rio. You know, he always shows up at J-Bay. I love his approach at Jeffreys Bay. It's got that long wall, so he gets to wind up, you know, and once he gets that first click, he finds the groove and he just starts to unload. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he looks at the lefts or the rights. Nat Young at the moment using his backhand to great advantage, and I'm sure Matty Wilco's been watching that. As you said, these goofy footers all stick together. Glenn Hall's been analysing the lineup pretty much all day, watching the tide change, where the waves are breaking, and feeding that information to Matty Wilco, getting him in the zone. And I like this new and improved Wilco, that's for sure.
He told us his goal on Dawn Patrol the other day was to finish in the top 10 this season. Right now, 17th in the world, but he knows an event win, you get 10,000 points. That's still his goal, to win his first major victory. But he's taken on one of the best in a former world champ, Parkinson. Coming up next, about 2:30 to go. Right now, round 3, heat number 4 has been all about Nat Young. However, Sebastian Zietz had a dreamy start, showed a lot of flair and control on that 7-point ride he opened up with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was kind of writing was on the wall there for Sebas to have a good heat, but then this guy, Nat Young, one of the best backhands on tour. Look how fast and powerful the kid is. Just jamming that board up into the lip a bunch of times, dropped that 7.60, and then found this gem straight up through the lip, off the bottom, off the top combo, bang again right there. Just so powerful, so solid is Nat Young. And once he finds his feet, this kid, he just oozes confidence, and you can see right there. I love that. Just kicks out saying, thank you very much. That felt good. 9.07, biggest scoring wave of the day.
What a huge roll for the former Rookie of the Year, Nat Young, catching a ton of waves. He's got a wave count of 11. And Sebastian Zietz has stayed just as active. He got his keepers early, started falling on major maneuvers. As you start thinking about Sebastian's position on tour, 24th on the championship tour, 32nd on the qualifying series. He moved up big time because of the semifinal back in the Azores. This is Zietz now, looking for something huge. Grab rail reverse on the first section. Excites the crowd. One big move, but he was almost looking for a perfect score heading into the final minute.
Yeah, good intent. Needed a bigger wave. You know, needed some air between himself and the wave as well, maybe, to get that up into that excellent range. I mean, 9.67 is a huge score. So Sebastian Zietz, I mean, it's going to be a good score for him, but it's not going to be a 9.67. 35 seconds remaining. It's Nat Young, I think, is going to move through this one, Joe.
Challenging heat for Sebastian Zietz. We ran into Sebastian yesterday in the hotel parking lot, and he was exhausted, breathing deep, but he was psyched because he had surfed 4 hours by himself on a secret little sandbank. He said there's a lot of top surfers just down the way, and he had a solo session. Crazy suck-up barrels, big air sections. He couldn't believe how barreled he was getting with no one around. He said there's one fisherman that was applauding him on the beach because he was putting on a big show. The kid loves to surf. Just right now, this heat going away from him with the horns sounding just a little bit too late for the Hawaiian. He'll carve his way through the inside corner and leave with another equal 13th here in Portugal, and now putting a little bit more pressure on him coming into Hawaii.
Yeah, well, it's a place that he can do well, so he's got to gather his thoughts, make sure he's got his boards in order, go home, get ready, and come out firing in the Triple Crown. You know, there's gain some momentum through Haleiwa and Sunset, and then he's got to make sure he, you know, posts a good result at Pipe, which we know he can do, Joe.
So true. Former champ at Haleiwa. He won that final over John Florence, Freddie P., Alejo Muniz back in the day. But it's all about the story for Santa Cruz. Is Nat Young. 16.67 combined total. 9.07 was the high mark. That right that kept on giving. He'll be moving on into round 4, heat number 2, to surf later on in the event. Coming up next, a standing room crowd only for Joel Parkinson and Matty Wilkinson. We'll be right back.